You wake up, the alarm rings. It is the same sound it made yesterday, and the same sound it will make tomorrow. You sit on the edge of the bed, your feet touching the cold floor, and for a split second, you cannot remember why you are doing this. It is not confusion, it is something worse. It is a profound, suffocating indifference. You look around the room, it is a nice room. Maybe it is the room you dreamed of having when you were 20. You have the high thread count sheets. You have the blackout curtains. You have the person sleeping next to you, perhaps the person you fought to be with, or perhaps just someone who fits the role. But as you sit there, suspended in the gray light of early morning, you feel a heaviness in your chest that has nothing to do with physical fatigue. It is the heaviness of success without substance. It is the terrifying realization that the things that used to give you a rush, the closing of a deal, the purchase of a new car, the glance of admiration from a stranger, the first sip of expensive whiskey now taste like ash. They are not bad. They are not painful. They are simply neutral. They are static. And this neutrality is more terrifying than pain, because pain at least tells you that you are alive. This gray silence tells you that you are slowly turning into a ghost within your own life. You go through the motions, you shower, you dress, you put on the watch that costs 3 months of an average man's salary. You remember the day you bought it. You remember the surge of dopamine, the feeling of, I have arrived. Where did that go? Why does the metal against your wrist feel like a shackle now? You get into your car, the engine roars a sound that used to signal power, freedom, capability. Now, it just sounds like noise. A noise that covers up the silence you are terrified to hear. You drive to work, or to your business, or to the gym, following the script that society handed you, the script that promised you happiness. If you just hit the milestones, you hit them. You hit them all, you climbed the mountain. And now that you are standing at the summit, expecting the view to take your breath away, you realize that the air is thin, it is cold, and you are alone. The view is just ... geography. The promise was a lie. This is the moment where the panic sets in. It is a quiet panic. You don't scream, you don't cry, you just stare at a spreadsheet, or a traffic light, or the bottom of a glass, and you ask yourself the question that destroys worlds. Is this it? You try to fix it. Of course you do. You are a problem solver. That is how you got here. So you double down. You think, maybe I just need a vacation. So you go to the beach. The water is blue, the sand is white, the service is impeccable. But you are still there. You brought your mind with you. The scenery changed, but the static in your head remains. You check your emails under the umbrella. You feel guilty for not relaxing, which makes you more tense. You think, maybe I need a new car, a new partner, a new challenge? You chase intensity because you have lost the ability to feel nuance. You turn up the volume on your life, but the music is still the same boring tune. You drink more, you work harder. You scroll endlessly through screens, looking for a spark, a hit, a signal in the noise, but nothing sticks. The Teflon coating of your soul has become too thick. Nothing penetrates. And if you've been resonating with this, if you feel that cold hand of indifference gripping your chest as I speak, maybe it's time to stop scrolling and actually listen. Join the space where we don't look away from this void. You know where the subscribe button is. Join us. This is the state of hedonic arrest. It is not depression, though it mimics it. Depression is a pathology of mood. This is a pathology of meaning. It is not burnout, though you are exhausted. Burnout is a depletion of energy. This is a depletion of purpose. You are suffering from the inevitable collapse of a life built on the sandy foundation of external validation and sensory pleasure. You are suffering from the fatigue of the vague. Most people will tell you to go to therapy, which is fine, but often therapy tries to patch you up to send you back into the race. They will tell you to take medication to balance your chemicals so you can tolerate the intolerable boredom of a life that isn't yours. They will tell you to practice gratitude, to look at what you have and be thankful. And you try. You look at your house, your bank account, your family, and you say the words, I am grateful. But the feeling doesn't follow. You feel like an actor reading lines from a script written by someone else. You feel like an imposter. And the guilt of not being happy with a good life adds another layer of weight to your shoulders. You wonder if you are broken. You wonder if you are incapable of joy. You look at other people, the man laughing loudly at a joke that isn't funny, the couple posting photos of their dinner, and you envy their simplicity. You envy their ability to be satisfied with the surface. You think, why can't I just be like them? Why can't I just enjoy the football game and the beer and shut up? But you can't. The veil has been lifted. You have seen the backstage of the theater, and you can no longer believe in the play. But what if I told you that this exhaustion is not a sickness? What if I told you that this inability to enjoy the superficial is not a defect, but a graduation? What if the fact that the toys no longer entertain you means that you have finally outgrown the nursery? You are not broken, you are waking up. And waking up is always painful because the light hurts your eyes. Let's deconstruct this. Why does pleasure turn into poison? Why does the dream become a cage? We need to look at the architecture of the human condition through the lens of Martin Heidegger, one of the most difficult and profound thinkers of the 20th century. Heidegger didn't talk about happiness. He talked about Dasein being there. For most of your life, you have existed in a mode that Heidegger called Verfallenfalling. Not falling down, but falling into the world. Falling into the Das Man. The day is the average, everyday way of existing. It is doing what one does. One gets a job. One gets married. One buys a house. One seeks pleasure. One avoids pain. When you are lost in the Vey, you are safe. You don't have to choose, because the choices are made for you by society. You don't have to think about death, because the Vey tells you death is just something that happens eventually, usually to other people. You used pleasure as a shield. Every time you felt the whisper of the void, the anxiety of existing, the realization that you are a finite being hurtling toward nothingness, you grabbed a distraction, a drink, a lover, a promotion, a new video game, a scroll through Instagram. These things are not just pleasures, they are tranquilizers. They are designed to keep you from facing the unheimlich, uncanny, the feeling of not being at home in the world. Heidegger argues that we spend the vast majority of our lives fleeing from our own authentic self. We use busyness as a drug. We treat our own lives like a to-do list, believing that if we just check enough boxes, we will feel complete. But the boxes are infinite, and the feeling of completion never comes. Why? Because you cannot fill an existential hole with physical things. You cannot feed the soul with the food of the ego. The reason everything that used to give you pleasure now tires you is because the mechanism of flight has broken down. Your tolerance has skyrocketed. You need a higher and higher dose of distraction to keep the anxiety at bay, and your system can no longer handle the load. The car doesn't numb you anymore. The sex doesn't numb you anymore. The money doesn't numb you anymore. The anesthesia has worn off, and you are waking up on the operating table of existence. Feeling the cold steel of reality? This is terrifying. Yes, but it is also the only path to authenticity. Heidegger suggests that angst, anxiety, or dread is distinct from fear. Fear is about something specific. Fear of a dog, fear of losing a job. Anxiety is about nothing. It is the confrontation with the sheer possibility of your own existence. When the pleasures fade, when the distractions fail, you are left with angst. And this angst is the call of conscience. It is your potential authentic self screaming at you from the future, demanding that you stop pretending to be everyone else and start being yourself. If this is hitting different for you, consider staying. We explore these depths every single week. This isn't just content, it's a mirror. Subscribe if you want to look into it. Think of the philosopher Arthur Schwartz. He told us that life swings like a pendulum, backward and forward between pain and boredom. When we lack something, we feel pain desire. When we get it, the pain ceases, but we are not happy, we are merely bored. So we invent new desires, new stressors, just to set the pendulum swinging again, because anything is better than the static hum of boredom. You have spent your life pushing the pendulum. You chased the goal pain effort, you achieved it momentary relief, and then you hit the boredom. So you pushed again, harder, faster. But now, you are 40, 45, 50. The arm of the pendulum is heavy. You are tired of pushing. You look at the arc of the swing, and you realize it leads nowhere. It just marks the passing of time. This fatigue you feel is the realization of the futility of the will. It is the intuitive understanding that no amount of more will ever satisfy a thirst that is metaphysical in nature. You have been diagnosed with anhedonia by the modern world, but let's call it what it really is. Existential nausea. Jean-Paul Sartre described this nausea as the moment when the veil of utility drops. Usually, you look at a door handle and you see something to open a door. It has a function. It makes sense. But in a moment of nausea, you look at the handle and you just see a cold, hard, senseless lump of metal. Its meaning evaporates. You are experiencing this with your entire life. The success script has lost its meaning. It is just a lump of metal. This is what happened to you. You didn't lose your mind. You lost your illusions, and that is a violent process. It feels like a death because the you that identified with the car, the job, and the pleasure is dying. The mask is cracking. And you are exhausted because you are trying to hold the pieces of the mask together with sheer willpower, while your soul is trying to shatter it from the inside. Let me give you an analogy to help you see this clearly. Imagine you have been at a banquet for 30 years. It is a magnificent feast. The tables are groaning under the weight of the finest meats, the sweetest fruits, the most delicate pastries. The wine flows like a river. The music is loud and joyous. For the first 20 years, you ate ravenously. You were starving. Everything tasted incredible. You gorged yourself on ambition, on lust, on accumulation. You looked at the people around you, all eating with their hands, grease on their chins, laughing, and you joined them. You competed to see who could eat the most. You felt full. You felt successful. But slowly, over the last few years, the taste began to change. The meat started to taste like salted cardboard. The wine started to taste like vinegar. The music became a screeching headache. You looked at the food, the same food that you used to crave, and you felt a wave of revulsion. But here is the problem. Everyone else is still eating. Everyone else is still cheering. They are holding up chicken legs and toasting to the chef. They look at you and say, "Why aren't you eating? Are you sick? Try the lobster. It's amazing." You try to take a bite just to fit in. You chew, but you can't swallow. It turns to dust in your mouth. You sit there, surrounded by abundance, starving to death. This is the banquet of ghosts. The food is the external world's promise of fulfillment. The hunger you feel is not for food, it is for nutrition. You have been eating calories without vitamins for decades. You are spiritually malnourished while being materialistically obese. The element of change, the fatigue you feel, is your body rejecting the poison. Your psyche is developing an intolerance to the fake nourishment of the they. You are vomiting up the lies you were force-fed since childhood. That if you are a good boy, and you work hard, and you buy the things, you will be happy. Your exhaustion is an immune response. It is your soul saying, "No more." Initially, this feels like a disaster. You look at the banquet and you panic. If I can't eat this, what will I eat? There is nothing else. You feel ungrateful. You feel isolated. You watch your friends chasing new cars, or younger women, or deeper spiritual retreats, which are often just another form of the banquet spiritual materialism, and you feel alien. You think the problem is your appetite. You think you need a stomach pump or an appetizer to get the hunger back. But once your eyes adjust to the dim light of the banquet hall, you start to notice something. You notice that the people eating are not actually happy. They are frantic. They are eating with a desperation, a panic in their eyes. They are terrified that the food will run out, or that if they stop eating, they will have to speak to each other. They will have to sit in the silence. You realize that the banquet is not a celebration. It is a distraction factory. This is what's happening when you sit in your luxury car and feel nothing. You are seeing the prop for what it is. You are seeing the cardboard scenery. You have stepped off the stage. The pleasure was just the applause of an audience you no longer respect. Now, be very careful. This is the danger zone. When this fatigue hits, when the old pleasures fail, the most common reaction is to try to increase the dosage. This is the false solution. This is where many men between 40 and 50 destroy their lives. You think, the problem isn't the banquet? The problem is that the food isn't spicy enough. So, you start looking for the extreme. If vanilla sex is boring, you look for fetish. If driving fast is boring, you look for danger. If alcohol doesn't work, you look for drugs. If making $1 million felt empty, you gambled 10 million. You think that if you just push the sensation hard enough, you will break through the numbness and feel something. This is the famine that feeds on itself. It is the logic of the addict. You are trying to use the very thing that caused your numbness overstimulation to cure your numbness. It is like trying to cure a burn by holding your hand closer to the fire. You will not find satisfaction there. you will only find destruction. We see this all the time. The midlife crisis, the sudden divorce, the sports car wrapped around a tree, the scandal. These are not acts of freedom. They are the last desperate gasps of the ego trying to prove it is still alive through the only language it knows, intensity. You might try to pivot to noble pleasures. You might start training for an Ironman. You might decide to climb Everest. You might dive into aggressive philanthropy. And while these are better than cocaine, if the intention is to escape the void, they will eventually fail to. You will cross the finish line of the Ironman, get the medal, post the photo, and 3 hours later, in the hotel room, the gray silence will interact with you again. Is this it? Because you are still operating under the old paradigm. I lack something inside, so I must go outside to get it and bring it in. You are still a hunter-gatherer of happiness, but the forest is empty. If you're still here, you already know this isn't surface-level content. We are taking apart the engine of your psyche. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper. So, what is the new paradigm? If we cannot go back to the sleep of the day, and we cannot scream louder to wake ourselves up, what is left? The answer lies in a complete inversion of your operating system. The answer is not in doing, but in being. It is not in seeking, but in clearing. Heidegger spoke of the Lichtung, the clearing. Imagine a dense forest, dark, tangled, impenetrable. That is, your mind cluttered with desires, fears, plans, and memories. To see the light, you don't plant more trees. You don't paint the trees bright colors. You cut them down, you create a clearing. An open space where the light of being can shine through. The fatigue you feel is the call to create this clearing. The new paradigm is the architecture of subtraction. Instead of asking, what do I need to add to my life to feel excited? You must ask, what must I drop to feel real? The new state is not excitement. Excitement is cheap. It's biological. The new state is serenity. Heidegger borrowed this term, Gelassenheit, from the mystic Meister Eckhart. It translates roughly to releasement or letting be. It is a state where you stop gripping the world by the throat, demanding it entertain you. You stop treating every moment as a resource to be mined for dopamine. You simply let things be. In your old state, the hedonic state, you were a consumer of reality. You looked at a sunset and thought, that's beautiful. I should take a picture. This makes me feel good. You consumed the sunset. In the state of Gelassenheit, you stand before the sunset and you simply witness it. You don't try to extract value from it. You don't try to keep it. You don't judge it as good or bad. You are just present with it. And in that lack of grasping, a different kind of joy arises. Not the spike of dopamine, which is sharp and jagged and fleeting, but the hum of serenity, which is deep, resonant, and sustainable. The new state is characterized by self-sufficiency. Not financial self-sufficiency, you already have that, and you know it doesn't help, but ontological self-sufficiency. It is the realization that your internal state does not need to be tethered to an external event. You do not need the party to be fun, to be at peace. You do not need the deal to close, to feel worthy. You do not need the car to be fast, to feel alive. Imagine you have spent your whole life living in a noisy arcade, flashing lights, sirens, coins dropping, people screaming. You thought this was life. You thought the silence outside the arcade was death. But now, the noise of the arcade is giving you a migraine. You step outside into the night. At first, it seems pitch black. It seems terrifyingly quiet. But as your eyes adjust, you see the stars. You hear the wind in the trees. You feel the vastness of the cosmos. You realize that the arcade wasn't life. It was a tiny, frantic box contained within life. The fatigue you feel is your soul trying to drag you out of the arcade. It is urging you to discover the stars. This discovery is the realization that the piece you were looking for in the bottom of a bottle or the seat of a Porsche was actually the background screen upon which the movie of your life was playing. You were so focused on the movie, the drama, the action, the romance that you forgot the screen existed. But the movie changes. The screen remains. The screen is you. The screen is awareness itself. Now, I must warn you about something. This is the part where your mind, that clever, slippery lawyer in your head, will object. You might think this sounds rather dull. Serenity, letting be, looking at stars? That sounds like giving up. That sounds like being a monk. I'm a man of action. I want to build. I want to conquer. I don't want to just be. I hear you. This is the addiction talking. To a man addicted to sugar, a glass of spring water tastes tasteless. It tastes like nothing. But water is the essence of life. Sugar is just a slow poison. You have desensitized your palate to the subtle flavors of existence because you have been drowning them in hot sauce for 40 years. Of course, serenity sounds boring to you right now. You are withdrawing from the drug of intensity. You have confused intensity with aliveness. You think that unless your heart is racing, unless there is risk, unless there is a high, you are not living. But look at where that definition has gotten you. It has gotten you to this chair, staring at the wall, feeling exhausted by the very things that used to make you high. Intensity is unsustainable. It burns fuel. It leaves ash. Serenity is self-sustaining. It generates energy. The boredom you fear is actually the gateway. Heidegger talked about deep boredom, tiefling. He said, this is not just being bored waiting for a train. It is a fundamental mood that strips away the significance of things. It is like a fog that covers everything, making all your toys and titles look gray. He argued that this deep boredom is the most philosophical moment of your life. Why? Because when the specific things stop mattering, you are forced to confront the nothingness. And in that nothingness, you find the only thing that is real, your own being. So, do not fear the dullness. The dullness is just the silence before the music starts. But it's a different kind of music. It's not the marching band of the ego. It's the symphony of the soul. It requires a quieter ear. You are currently deaf to it because the marching band is still ringing in your ears. Let me tell you about Thomas Biss. This is a story I saw unfold, and it maps perfectly onto your terrain. Thomas was 52. He was an architect, not just any architect, but one of the greats. He built skyscrapers. He altered skylines. He was a man who literally left his mark on the world in steel and glass. He had the respect of his peers, a younger wife who adored him, and a bank account that made money irrelevant. For 30 years, Thomas was fueled by the next project. The rush of the pitch, the stress of the deadline, the triumph of the opening, that was his drug. He defined himself by what he built. I build, therefore I am. But then, he finished his masterpiece, the biggest tower of his career. The ribbon was cut, the champagne was popped. Everyone applauded. And Thomas stood there, glass in hand, looking at this massive phallic symbol he had erected against the sky, and he felt absolutely nothing. Actually, that's not true. He felt worse than nothing. He felt a profound, heavy irritation. He wanted to go home. He wanted to sleep. But he couldn't sleep. The insomnia set in. He tried to start the next project, but the drawings looked like gibberish to him. He bought a vintage Jaguar, the classic midlife move. He drove it once, felt like a clown in a costume, and parked it in the garage under a tarp. He came to me saying, I think I'm depressed. I need to get my spark back. I need to find the passion for architecture again. He wanted me to help him fix the engine so he could get back in the race. I told him, Thomas, the engine isn't broken. The car has reached its destination. You are trying to drive past the edge of the cliff. The turning point for Thomas wasn't a dramatic breakdown. He didn't lose his money or his wife. It happened on a Tuesday. He walked out of his firm in the middle of the day. He didn't tell anyone, he just walked out. He walked to a park nearby, sat on a wooden bench, and watched a duck floating on a pond. He sat there for 4 hours. His phone was blowing up. Clients, partners, his wife. He didn't look at it. He just watched the duck. He watched how the duck didn't struggle. It didn't try to be a better duck. It didn't try to build a skyscraper. It just floated. It dipped its head, ate some algae, and floated on. In that moment, the architect died. The identity he had spent 50 years constructing crumbled. He realized that the skyscraper and the duck were made of the same atomic stuff, existing in the same space, and that the duck was infinitely more at peace than he was. He realized that his need to leave a mark was just a fear of death. He was building monuments to his own ego because he was terrified that without them, he didn't exist. But sitting on that bench, doing nothing, achieving nothing, being useless, he existed. He felt the sun on his face. He felt the wood of the bench. He felt his breath. And for the first time in decades, the heavy backpack of Thomas the Great Architect slipped off his shoulders. He wept, not out of sadness, but out of sheer relief. The weight was gone. Thomas didn't quit architecture, but he changed entirely. He stopped chasing the mega projects. He started designing small, sustainable community spaces. He stopped working 80 hours a week. He started leaving at 3 p.m. to walk. He stopped needing the buildings to define him. He designed them, he built them, and he let them go. He moved from Verfallen falling into the work to Gelassenheit letting the work be. He found the clearing in the forest. He is still productive, but he is no longer frantic. He is no longer tired because he is no longer carrying the weight of the world. He is letting the world carry him. This is the transformation available to you, but you must be willing to sit on the bench. You must be willing to let the phone ring. You must be willing to let the identity of the successful man die so that the living man can be born. And if you've been resonating with this, if you feel that part of you wants to sit on that bench, but you're terrified of what you'll find, maybe it's time to join the space where we face that fear together. You know where the button is? We are talking about a metamorphosis. And biology teaches us that metamorphosis is not a pretty process. We look at the butterfly and think it's beautiful, but we forget the chrysalis. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar doesn't just sprout wings. It literally melts. It digests itself. It turns into a formless genetic soup. If you cut open a chrysalis halfway through the process, you wouldn't see a half caterpillar, half butterfly. You would see goo. You, my friend, are in the goo phase. That is why you are tired. Your psychological structure is liquefying the old ego structures that held you together. Ambition, pride, hunger for pleasure are dissolving. This feels like death because it is death. It is the death of the false self. This is the dark night of the soul that the mystics talk about. It is the negredo of the alchemists, the blackening, the decomposition. It is necessary. You cannot build the new castle on the ruins of the old one without clearing the rubble first. The mistake you are making is trying to stop the liquefaction. You are trying to unmelt yourself. You are frantically trying to glue the caterpillar parts back together because the goo scares you. I don't know who I am anymore. Good. You shouldn't. If you knew who you were, you would still be the caterpillar. You must reframe this fatigue. It is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of deep internal labor. Your psyche is doing heavy lifting in the dark. It is reorganizing your hierarchy of values. It is moving the furniture of your soul from the room of having to the room of being. This takes immense energy. That is why you have no energy left for the bullshit.